Hey, this is Notser, and we're in the Tier 7 Premium Commonwealth Canadian, I'm not really sure at this point, Haida. It's flagged as the Cossack. You're going to see a Cossack in-game, but it is the proposed version of a Canadian destroyer that has, the same basic playstyle of the original Cossack that I called the worst ship in the game. Clearly I was wrong. Clearly it is the Monahan with the B hull. But regardless, here we are. What's different about this? Well, it sort of has the Perth smoke system, if you're familiar with that. What the Perth does is it drops smoke for a duration that each smoke charge only lasts 10 seconds or so. So you could theoretically move it or stay in the same spot and it would have the same outcome. And I don't know how often or how useful that can be. Sometimes being a little bit of unpredictable when it comes to torpedoes is useful, but I find that generally when you're playing, it doesn't come into that much effect. But, I'm not going to complain. It's something different. Now, this is my first impression of this version, but it pretty much is the Cossack, right? The old Cossack. Now, the reason why they're not going to release a Cossack 3-gun or 3-turret, 2 guns per turret, 6-gun total gun system is because they're actually going to do an 8-gun system. The Cossack had a refit or of some description in its latter part of its life, and that is intriguing to me as a player. To have an 8-gun at Tier 7, the British have a weird velocity, and I assume that the Commonwealth ship, the Canadian, I don't think it'll be unique like I heard Pan-Asian. I feel like it's going to be Commonwealth, and I feel like that's okay. Hopefully, eventually, there will be a Commonwealth fleet. There are so many Canadian, Australian, New Zealand. Was India a part of the Commonwealth at that point? Regardless, there's a lot of different countries that are associated with British technology. I expect that to come out. But the British is interesting. The HE actually does a lot of damage. It's substantial. But just look at these gun arcs. These gun arcs are very American, maybe even worse. I mean, the shell velocity just takes forever to get your shells out there. So you would never actually do something like advanced firing training, for instance. There's very low chance, low probability of hitting that long-range shot on a battleship regardless. Before, and you're not going to hit anything. So this ship is, I don't know if, it's not disappointing, it's just well known, right? It's a Cossack. It's sort of a weak version of a Cossack, and this is, well, the finished product. It is Tier 7, so it will compete directly with the Tier 8 version. It does have hydroacoustic, but it's a pretty narrow hydroacoustic. You would get the Z39, and it would have a much better hydroacoustic, because that hydroacoustic acts like it's a Tier 8. So, from a premium standpoint, this doesn't offer as much uniqueness as I would like. The Perth smoke is nice, but who's playing the Perth just for the smoke, right? It's such a minor trait of a ship that needs to perform in gun systems and torpedo systems. It only has one launcher, clearly. It does have the British unique trait where it can single launch torpedoes, but I don't really see myself doing it that much, if I'm going to be completely honest. I really do enjoy the damage that the shells do, but they have to actually hit the target, and the lead is extreme. You need a lot of lead. This is the opposite, the complete polar opposite of a Soviet ship. So going from the Soviet cruiser line, playing a ton of Soviets, playing the Stalingrad, and I will be showing off the new 2 versions of the Stalingrad if you're interested in that. It's a change of pace. So our team successfully captured. I wanted to come around, kill the sim so bad, but I knew we needed to capture the base. Every second that you don't have equal capture or 1 down is a second where you're probably going to lose. I feel really strongly that You gotta capture before you play the actual kill game. And if you're continuously being interrupted, well, as a DD, you especially have to try to capture the base, because that's the most important thing. And I was a little surprised when I was hoping that the Sims would come around this corner. My torpedoes are about to come up, so I'm gonna put my torpedoes. I use my Hydro because he's so close. It doesn't really matter that it's a normal tier 7 Hydro. And I was shocked that the Atlanta was right there, so I'm getting as much distance as I can. I'm like, oh, are we gonna snipe the Sims with the torpedo? No. He is able to drop his speed at the very last second. But it was going to be really nice. Just barely missed it. Maybe if I had a second torpedo launcher, I could have hit him. I don't know. But he's going to aggressively come around, and we're going to try and kill this guy quick. Does a ton of damage. The HE does a ton of damage to lightly armored targets. Every time it hits, it feels like a freight train. And every time it doesn't shatter, you know, it does a ton of damage. Is the shatters, he's going to avoid it? Ooh, just barely. Hydro's nice. The smoke's cool, right? This is the Perth smoke, so it's moving with me. But it just, I don't know, I kind of want a better reason for the single launch torpedo systems for the British. And I'm just not seeing it. Maybe if Wargaming gave a bonus to choosing to do a single launch versus choosing to do a narrow launch. Like maybe when you single launch, your torpedoes have better concealment overall. You know, their detectability goes way down. I don't know. I just don't really feel like a full British line of destroyers is gonna be compelling enough to entice me. That single launch trait is not as good as everyone would hope, right? And it's the same with this impression. I feel like Perth smoke's cool, Hydro's cool, but I don't know that I would choose this system over the Z39, which is directly competing at its slot, right? So, you know, just long-range shells, looking for fires. I am playing with the throttle, trying to get a gauge on how responsive she is. I did choose the acceleration. I showed off the build at the beginning. And I was just trying to get an understanding. Just like the previous version of the Cossack, which this is it's for all intents and purposes, it's the Cossack was slightly tweaked. Its gun angles are awkward. You're always going to fight with 33% of your guns not really able to fire unless you go almost full broad. You know, me wiggling just ever so slightly, I'm actually getting into a situation where I can't use my back gun, and that's not good. And then the torpedoes. The torpedoes got a really limited arc of fire. It's clunky. It's really clunky. So if a ship was clunky, I feel like it should do more damage when everything is on board, and you know, maybe it does, but then you get the velocity, you know, I'm not saying she's a terrible ship, I just think she's really hard to use. And I have found that if a ship is really hard to use, it's probably going to be underutilized. It's just so much to ask a player to play out the strategy correctly, but then, oh yeah, by the way, you can't turn more than 10 degrees left to right, or all your guns are unable to fire on the ship, you know, or your torpedo systems can only launch forward and back. And you only have one launcher, right? It's not even a case where the kid has, you know, great gun systems that can rotate. You've got heal, you've got the defensive fire if and when the aircraft carrier is ever revived, and certainly I don't think it will be revived other than the missions. At this point, there are so many cruisers in the queue. But it's just something to consider. I'm enjoying my time. I think this game is really close back and forth. I need to survive. And I was laughing. If you see, someone was like, DD. Clearly they're calling out to kill the DD. Maybe snipe me. If you're in a situation very similar, you've got to react. You need to move away from the enemy. You can't allow them to ambush you behind an island. That's what they want to do. And sure enough, this Atlanta comes around the island. He's got radar blasting, and I am in trouble. But I'm trying to make for the island. Look at the A-Chief. Everything hits the target. It's good. You know, good accuracy, very consistent. But muzzle velocity, everything's issue. But I'm playing with my throttle. I know the Atlanta has just as bad, if not worse, shell velocity. So if I can do anything to get him to overshoot or what have you, it's going to work in my favor. And sure enough, he overshoots, he misses. I'm lucky. Friendlies are able to take him out. And there's another Atlanta. Sure enough, these guys absolutely were looking to try and snipe. I feel like, just because the enemy team had 4 Atlantas, right? So this is sort of the worst case scenario for this ship and for a lot of DDs. A ton of radar cruisers, light cruisers. But she's holding up well. Now, I don't know if it's all the ship, a little bit of me, or more me and a little bit of the ship, but I felt like the hydroacoustic tool was really useful going up against the Sims. We detected the torpedoes, kept the Scharnhorst alive, basically, because he could see where they were coming. The smoke allows me to be a little bit of aggressive, like I can perth smoke, use hydro, close that gap on a target that may be in their smoke, and that is a legitimate use case. But you're not going to have the torpedoes, the multiple torpedo launchers that you can throw into smoke and hope to take a target out, right? You've got a very limited amount of torpedoes. 4 total torpedoes. And it's just really difficult to make all of this work. It almost feels like it's over-specialized. Between the perth and the hydroacoustic, I see what they want. I see what they're trying to do. But I don't know if it's really feasible to get all of that online and functioning to the point where it feels like it's worth it. Maybe boost the effectiveness of hydroacoustic range a little bit, but then you get into the case where the enemy can't retreat, right? It's very dangerous to make something like the perth smoke, the 2 minutes of constant smoke being dispersed, and you can move forward slowly, but you can move forward, coupled with hydro, right? I don't remember if the perth has hydro and smoke, but it's just an interesting gimmick. And that's what it kind of feels like. It's a gimmick. The ship can do well, not very well against high armor, right? It's much better at sniping DDs and light cruisers, or just glorified DD. I mean, come on, let's get it. The Atlanta's just a DD with more guns. But you see all these shatters. I'm not even hitting like the gun. I'm hitting just maybe a normal part of the ship for armor, and it's not as damaging as I was hoping against a higher armored target. I haven't used inertia fuse high explosive. I don't want to. It's 4 points. It's way too much. It's way too much to invest, but I might give it a go just to see. These are 120 millimeters. I think they are the smallest regular gun system that doesn't immediately use inertia fuse, and I thought this guy was totally moving away. But look, the perth smoke is going to protect me because it's going to keep dispersing. So we have 10 seconds to kill this guy. And of course, I flub up the first shot. And since he's going to go broad, it gives me a chance to try out AP. Not expecting much, but, we'll see. 1600, okay. Smoke's gone. His guns are trained on me, and I'm just trying to move back and forth. And I do think that there's something here with acceleration. It does feel... I don't know if that full trait has transferred over. I really didn't do the minutia of research on exactly what is equipped to this. I was kind of confused. Is it Cossack? Haida? Obviously Cossack's in game. That's going to be kind of confusing for players. Sooner or later, they're going to see a Cossack that has 8 guns. They're going to be like, what is this? Because Wargaming has said they will do that. They think that is, you know... Oh, by the way, look at how much of a failure I am right now. I was like, getting like a little bit of chip damage. I've only done 55,000. I can, you know, accelerate, drop the speed. I'll be fine, right? I'll be fine. Yeah, no. I am shattering so much on this target. Look, so much shatter. And I am risking it all just to play with this guy. And sure enough, friendly dies, and then all of a sudden, they have an advantage. So I should have been holding my fire. Now I would have to fire my gun, because I would have felt the urge to do something to give my team a chance. So I'm not going to defend openly firing, but when we were down by 15, I had no idea the health of the friendlies on the other flank. Clearly, it was maybe one salvo, and obviously I would have been visible for 20 seconds, and then, boom, he would have taken me out. But I shouldn't have been openly firing when we had 4-2 against the enemy. That was just greed. Honestly, all greed. So, you know, just trying to get a good gauge of the ship. Obviously, if you play it like a DD, you will be successful, just like any other DD. Just maintain your advantages. Try to minimize your disadvantages, and then there are a lot. I don't know what else will change. This is basically version 2 of a ship that I played, like 6 months ago. And it's better with the per smoke. But is it competitive with the Z39 at all? Outside of the limited smoke hydro window that is available on the ship, no. Z39 is just a better version of it, in my opinion. More torpedoes, longer range hydroacoustic, and better concealment. So it was interesting checking it out. It was a close game, so I enjoyed that. I hope you did as well. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time.